Most of us at some point in our lives have played the game where we're spinning in circles and we're falling to the ground, we're getting back up, and it's fun to be dizzy. If you haven't played it yourself, you've surely seen somebody play it at some point or another. Believe it or not, there's people out there that live their lives in a perpetual state of that dizziness. My name's Carrie Weber. I was walking down the hallway one day, and all of a sudden the world fell out from under me. It's so dizzy. Um, since then, I have been to family doctor, emergency room, ENT, neurologist, cardiologist, um, neurologist. I don't know. Did I say that? I think neurologist. And I've had MRIs, CT scans, blood work, hearing tests, and still nothing. One of the things that I have learned about through research and through talking to the doctors is a disease called Meniere's disease. Meniere's disease, it can present at any point in life, and the symptoms, there's a lot of physical symptoms of it. A variety, they vary, although there are core symptoms. And because of the symptoms, it can cause a lot of depression and anxiety, fear of being judged. Because of the way that the symptoms can present, it's not unheard of for people to think that a person who's suffering from a Meniere's attack is higher on drugs. Meniere's can, like I said, it can present at any point in life. According to the U.S. Department of Health, it is most commonly, it'll present between the ages of 40 and 60. I joined Facebook groups for it to try to learn about it, to try to be able to, kind of connect some dots. And I've talked to people that have said that they've had it since childhood, although I've not spoken to or heard of an actual child who has been diagnosed. I'm sure they're out there. Although the cause of Meniere's disease is unknown, there's speculation that it could be caused by head injuries, allergies, viral infections, of course, genetics. Living with Meniere's can be a challenge. I'm currently treated for it, although the worst symptoms are, I don't have the worst symptoms at this stage. The symptoms of Meniere's can come and go. That's one of the things that is very, very common. You generally, it'll be long term, and then you'll be better for a while, and you go back and forth, although some people suffer from it every single day. Meniere's disease is believed to be a buildup of fluid in the inner ear, and then as the fluid builds up, it eventually, obviously, it has to go somewhere. When it breaks free, when it does what it does, that would be when a person would have an attack. The symptoms include vertigo, unbalanced, being unbalanced. Vertigo is, it can be either you spinning or your environment spinning. It can be either one, especially with Meniere's. Like, there's some people that say that they spin constantly. There's other people that say that the world around them spins. Another symptom is vomiting, which makes perfect sense. If you go on a ride, you get dizzy, you get sick to your stomach. That's very common, is vomiting. And it's actually considered to be like one of the things that they ask you about. So it's considered to be one of the core symptoms is vomiting with nausea and vomiting with dizziness. Another thing that is actually, I believe, considered, from everything that I've been told, it's considered a must, is tinnitus and hearing loss. Tinnitus, when I was asked about tinnitus, do you have tinnitus? Well, what's tinnitus? Tinnitus is a ringing of the ears. When I first heard the word tinnitus and was told it's a ringing of the ears, I thought of bells ringing. I didn't think of a lot of things that come to find out after I honestly, I joined a Facebook group and started talking to other people about their symptoms and how different things present themselves. And one of the things that I've learned is tinnitus is not that ringing you here on the Saved by the Bell introduction necessarily. It can be. It can also be, people have explained it as a crinkling, like a ruffling of paper, or if you hold a seashell to your ear, that roar that you have, that can be tinnitus. That can be what tinnitus sounds like to a person suffering from tinnitus. The tone that you hear when you get a hearing test, some people have that. That's actually, I have that. Fortunately, I only have it when things are loud, or I'm sorry, when things are quiet. If I keep a TV on, I don't hear it. Another symptom is brain fog. Brain fog is, the best way for me to describe it is kind of like a hangover. That feeling you get the next day where you're not quite functioning right. You don't. It's probably, I can tell you right now, I've had a hangover. It's worse than a hangover, but it's like, imagine that hangover feeling times 10, 20, 30. Personally, I attribute some portion of that to the treatment for Meniere's disease. The treatments for Meniere's disease are in a lot of cases, of course, there's several treatments, but the most common treatments are meclizine. If you've ever taken Dramamine, you'll be familiar with how drowsy that can make you. Meclizine is Dramamine, except it's a much, much higher dose. Then there's also diazepam, which is usually used in conjunction with the meclizine. Diazepam, you may know of that. If you're not familiar with what diazepam is, you may be more familiar with the word Valium. That's what diazepam is. It's the generic form of Valium. When you put two of those together, it makes sense that you'd be drowsy and confused and have some trouble putting some thoughts together. And also, when you have the vertigo attacks, it really, really wears you out. It makes it hard to put thoughts together. Even though there's core symptoms for Meniere's disease that set the bar for the diagnosis, the disease itself, it can affect people in different ways, especially on an emotional level. Meniere's disease, it can make a person look like they're high, look like they're on drugs, and it can cause anxiety and depression. You can actually, if you can imagine, if you have a legitimate disease and you're walking down the street and you just suddenly, you fall to the ground and you're like holding on to the ground for dear life because the world's spinning. Imagine people are looking at you and, what is that? That person on drugs? Are they high? Are they drunk? So that judgment. You're suffering from a legitimate disease and you're being accused of being a drug addict or being an alcoholic or just being an obnoxious person who's walking around high or on drugs or drunk. So yeah, it can cause, you suffer from anxiety. You can suffer from anxiety. While many of us have triggers or warnings, you still fear having an attack in public. A common trigger, a trigger could be sodium. Weather changes. I'm in New Jersey. Weather changes. That is huge. The barometric pressure. You can imagine, you get sinus headaches when the barometric pressure rises, and it has a similar impact, except you already have this vestibular disorder. So yeah, when you're having these symptoms, you're thinking, what do I do? Like, I can't go to the store. I can't go shopping because you don't want people looking at you thinking there's that you're causing these issues within yourself. I've learned a lot about manures. It, it can be debilitating to some people. Other people can live a long and productive life. I personally am doing the productive thing right now. Trying. There isn't much known about the disease, but I hope you've learned something. I know, I feel like, I obviously in 5 minutes I can't tell you what I've learned in a year. But I hope you've learned something, and if you ever meet somebody, you'll at least be able to grasp a little bit of what they're telling you. Um, it can be a 20-year-old, it can be a 60-year-old, it can be your mom, it can be your sister, it can be your dad, male or female, could affect anyone um, at any point in life. And there's a lot of symptoms, and it's a scary disease that you just, you're afraid of being judged. I hope everyone has a great night, and I hope that I have given you a little bit of useful information. Good luck, everyone. It's good to see you again.